Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 10,000 Roads to Financial Independence. Today, I have a very honorable guest with me. It's no other than Bob Burg, the author of The Go-Giver. It's a book that has influenced me very much so and helped me become who I am today in terms of the success. And we can kind of get into some stories on that. Bob, really happy to have you over here. So Bob, for over 30 years, Bob has been successfully showing entrepreneurs, leaders, and sales professionals how to communicate their value and accelerate their referral businesses. Although for years, he was best known for his sales classic, Endless Referrals. It's his business parable, The Go-Giver, co-authored with John David Mann, that has created a worldwide movement. While part of a four-book series, The Go-Giver itself has sold more than 1 million copies and been translated into 30 languages. It was rated number 10 on Inc. magazine's list of the most motivational books ever written and was on HubSpot's 20 most highly rated sales book of all time. Bob is an advocate, supporter, and defender of the free enterprise system, believing that the amount of money one makes is directly proportional to how many people they serve. He is also an apologetic animal fanatic and served on the board of director of Furry Friend Adoption and Clinics in his town of Jupiter, Florida. Welcome to the show, Bob, today.
Hello, Elisa. So great to be with you.
Awesome. Well, so Bob, we're going to accelerate the interview. We always ask people with some other questions, but we're going to accelerate this in the interview because we have such a precious time with you. I want to kind of share a little bit story for folks who haven't read the book Go Giver. The book has changed my life so much. And I was just sharing with Bob earlier. We've done millions and millions of dollars of acquisitions. We would be hitting $200 million acquisition this year. And the simple principle of Go Giver has really changed our philosophy of giving forward. And that in turn bring us the deal and in turn bring us the investors and got to where we are today. So thank you, Bob, for that. I want to just kind of share that anecdote with our viewers over here.
Wow.
So
I couldn't be more honored and grateful to hear that, Elisa. That's wonderful.
yeah, and then so it really comes full cycle for me to be able to interview you here on our show today. So Bob, I have no idea you wrote the other books, so I'm definitely gonna go read them as well.
Well, I had a great co-author, John David Mann, who's really kind of a writing machine, and he's just so good at it. And so, we collaborate on our ideas, and we put together different aspects of it. But really, he's the lead writer and storyteller because 3 of the 4 books are parables.
Yeah.
And so it's really just an honor and a joy to be able to work with him.
And then what are the 4 books in the whole series over here? Do you want to kind of give us a little bit of rundown on, the sequence of it and the gist behind it?
Sure. So the first one being The Go-Giver, and that is a parable. And the basic premise is simply that shifting your focus from getting to giving. And when we say giving in this context, we simply mean constantly and consistently providing immense value to others, understanding that doing so is not only a more fulfilling way of conducting business, it's the most financially profitable way as well. And not for any kind of woo-woo, magical, mystical reasons. It makes logical sense when you think about it, that when you're that person who can take your focus off yourself and place it on serving others, helping others solve their challenges and problems, helping others get closer to happiness, people feel good about you. They want to get to know you. They like you. They trust you. They want to do business with you. They want to tell others about you. So that's really The Go-Giver in a nutshell. The second book we wrote is called Go Givers Sell More. Now, this is the only book in the series that's not a parable. This is more of an application guide to the Go-Giver, because so many people after the book came out said, well, can you share with us some stories of real life people who have operated this way and who have done very well? And so that's really what the book is. We drive deeper into the laws of the book, the 5 laws, and we give examples and so forth, and a lot of how to. The third book in the series, the second parable, is The Go-Giver Leader. And that's simply, an answer to the question, so how does someone, since the go-giver itself is more about entrepreneurship and sales, how does a corporate leader, right, or even leader of a small or medium or large company, how do they lead? And we talk about giving leadership, and as both a verb and a noun. You've got giving leadership as a noun, as a type of leadership. It's a type of leadership that's always edifying others, a type that is looking to build other leaders, to focus on those in your organization. But it's also a verb. You're giving leadership. You're putting them in the spotlight. You're helping them to build and to grow. And then there's the go-giver influencer, which is the fourth book, the third parable. And that's really about people skills, Elisa. This is really, sort of what we call genuine influence, which is how to get the results you want when dealing with others while making them feel genuinely good about themselves, about the situation, and about you. We really believe that people skills is the difference maker between those who are able to attain, real legitimate, good levels of success, and those people who are able to really take their success to stratospheric levels.
Yeah. And then in your experience, because there's a lot of research probably went into book writing. So in your research, I'm going to ask this question, like, where does the idea of go-giver came from? And then how did it become a brainchild and become a kind of written product?
Well, many, many years ago, I'm an old guy, Elisa. I'm 63 now, so I've been at this for quite a while.
Very young.
Gray hair and all, right?
Yeah.
Back in the early to mid 90s, my first book was published. It was called Endless Referrals. And it was really written for entrepreneurs and salespeople who knew they had a great product or service. They knew it brought wonderful value to those they served, but they didn't necessarily feel comfortable going out into their local communities and building the kinds of relationships that would result in people wanting to do business with them directly and or refer them to others. So the book was a how-to on that. And the basic premise was, and this has sort of been my calling card for the last 30, 35 years, whatever, that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. The book was really a primer on how to build those kinds of relationships. Right. So the book was a traditional how-to book, but I'd always thought, wouldn't it be great? Because I'd always loved reading business parables. Right. Because parables are stories. And I think we all know that stories, they connect on a deeper emotional heart level, right? That a how-to book. Wouldn't it be great if we could take that basic know, like, trust premise, turn that into a parable? So I thought, well, entitling it, what is really the essence of those entrepreneurs and salespeople who could both quickly and sustainably create those know, like, and trust relationships? And what it came down to, Elisa, is that they're givers. They're always looking to give value to others. They're always placing the other person's interest to where, what can I do for them? How can I help them? How do I bring immense value to them? So coming up with the story, the title, The Go-Giver, is kind of a natural thing. Now, asking John David Mann to co-author it and be the lead writer, storyteller, that was the best thing I did for the book, because I knew, again, I'm a how-to author. I'm step 1, step 2, step 3. I'm boring. Okay. John's a wonderful writer. I knew he could take that book to a level that there was just no way, I was going to be able to take that to. So it was a great collaboration. I think it only took us 3 months to write that first book. Now, the tough part was getting it published, because we had an agent. We had a great agent, but she got turned down, which means we got turned down. We got rejected by, I think, 24 publishing houses over the course of a year before the 25th, which was Portfolio, an imprint of Penguin Random House, took us on and said yes. So, like anything else, you can have a good idea, good product, good service, but you still got to go through those no's, you find the right
so the other 24 is probably kicking themselves on passing on the publication.
Well, you think about Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the story is they got turned down by over 200 publishing houses. And then they went on to sell 500 million books and the whole
Yeah.
series. So talk about, publishers kicking themselves.
Yeah, I actually just had I just had a Lenters market this weekend, very honorable. And then that's a story he told. He's that we got turned down by 200 people before,
Yeah.
publishers before we did this and that. Now they
So
help people publish in their books,
yeah. And
which is awesome.
they did such a wonderful job. Look how much value they've brought to so many people's lives through their
Absolutely.
books and then through teaching others how to write and, everything
Yeah,
they do.
definitely. So how did you meet John? How did it like the union kind of
Yeah.
come about? Yeah.
John was the editor-in-chief of a magazine I used to write a monthly column for.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
every month he would edit my stuff, and he always, was so polite and so considerate when he'd send it back and say, I did this here, I moved this here, is this okay, is that right? Which he didn't have to do as the editor, but I thought it was just really nice as he did that. And the running joke was I'd always write him back and say, John, not only is it okay, you write my stuff better than I write my stuff.
You're right.
And
Yeah.
and back then, John wasn't as well known as he is now. After the success of The Go-Giver, he became sort of the golden boy for publishers and agents who had, a celebrity or an executive or an athlete or someone who needed to. And John's the guy who he ghost writes, he co-authors, he just, he and Brandon Webb, a former Navy SEAL, they just published their first murder mystery called
Oh, wow.
Steel Fear, which
Oh,
took place.
yeah.
Brandon was a Navy SEAL, and
Yeah.
so the story took place on a naval ship, and it's a brilliant story. It's wonderful. But back then John wasn't very well known outside his circle. Now in his circle he was known as a brilliant author, and fortunately I had access to that circle, so I knew he was too. But
Yeah.
so I was very lucky. I connected with him on the kind of the beginning of his real
Yeah.
authorial
Yeah.
career.
Yeah. It's all the key people that we met in our life that's really matters, as especially. So Bob, you weren't always a book writer. You weren't always an author. So what were you doing when you kind of growing up? Did you had a full-time job? And so did you have the epiphany of a pivot moment when you're switching from your trajectory of normal job to a kind of entrepreneurship? Can you share some story there?
Yeah, that's a great question because growing up I did entrepreneurial things, but it's not like I started out that way from the get-go. I was a broadcaster first, so I was doing radio, sports, and then I did television news for a small ABC affiliate in the Midwestern United States.
Wow.
Went to work in sales for a couple of other companies, and then it was at a certain point where I just I always had the entrepreneurial spirit. I'm an entrepreneur at heart, I think,
Yeah.
and I just wanted to go out on my own, and I found that I could do that through what I started doing was teaching others how to sell the way I was selling, how to sell the way I had learned to, and so forth, and it sort of morphed into a speaking career. And
Gotcha.
as a speaker, it's a business like anything else, only you're the product, until
Yeah.
you create other products and
Yeah.
so forth.
Yeah.
And that's really what it wasn't. There was no epiphany where I said I've got to stop working for others and go into business for myself. I kind of always knew I wanted to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. You
It was
already
just
have
the
the business for
opportunity,
yourself.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So on your first year doing the speaker gig, it must be hard to all entrepreneurs. The hardest year is always their first year when they're establishing themselves. So
Sure.
what are some great lessons that you learned from there that you would like to pass it to our viewers and listeners?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think really it's first, it begins with your desire. Okay. It begins with knowing what it is you want to do. Not that things can't change, not, and so forth, but it begins with really having an idea, knowing what it is you desire to do, desire to accomplish. And I'm a big believer that it should be it not should, but at best, it's something that you really love. It's something that you're good at, either naturally or that you can learn and develop, right? And typically what we love is what we're good at, and what we're good at is what we love, usually. Okay.
Right.
And then the third aspect is there a market for it?
Yeah.
Okay. Because otherwise it's just a hobby. You've still got to
Right.
be able to either create a market or work in already existing market. So but it really begins with desire. Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich talk about all great things having their beginning in desire. Then I think there are three concepts, and this is after desire. I think desire is sort of the first bookend. I think the first concept is to find the system, seek out how it's done. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. So I would say seek out and find the information. Okay, that's number one. If there's something you want to do, a business you want to be in, someone has already done it and they've documented how. They may have put it in a book. It may be in a series of videos. It may be that they coach on it. It might be, whatever. I mean, there's all different ways to find out. But find the system. What is a system? Well, really a system, and this is just my definition of a system, is the process for predictably achieving a goal based on a logical and specific set of how-to principles.
Yeah.
Okay. The key is predictability. If it's been proven that by doing A, you'll get the desired result of B, then all you need to do is A and continue to do A and continue to do A, you'll get the desired result of B. So number one is seek out and find the system. Number two is apply the information. Knowledge without action is the same as not having that knowledge.
Right.
A perfect case in point, you're an amazing investor. You own so many properties. But I'm sure when you went after your first one, you didn't know nearly as much as you knew a little down the road. Now, had you waited until you knew everything about investing, you never would have invested in your first property.
Yeah.
But what you do, and that doesn't mean we should just go out and do things without having any knowledge. Of course not.
Right.
Learn what we can.
Yeah.
But then take action.
Pull the trigger. Yes.
Right. Pull the trigger. Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So begin. Get going, right? It's so, and then the third one is simply be persistent. Without that, nothing's going to happen. With it, everything's going to happen.
Right.
And so, I say it's outlast the no's. Because let's face it, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to get told no. You're going to face rejection. And it's not that you have to like that. I'm not one of these people. Oh, no's are great. It just means you're on to the next. I mean, that might be true, but it still stinks.
Yes.
Who wants to be told no?
Yeah.
No, you don't have to like it. You just have to know that's a part of it.
Yeah.
And I think what drives a lot of really great would-be entrepreneurs out of entrepreneurship is that it's not being told no. It's thinking that they're the only ones who have to go through being told no.
Yeah.
Because they see everybody else. They see you who bought 200 million jillion homes, okay? And they see other people, they see Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield selling 500 million books, and they see this person doing this and that person doing that and everything. They say, oh, well, it came easy for them. They just, what they didn't see is Mark and Jack getting 250 no's first before, right? What they didn't see is you stumbling around and trying to figure out how to do this, what they didn't see is, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when we can understand that when we get a no, we don't have to like it, but we just have to say to ourselves, this is how it is.
Right.
This is part of it. So a couple of good friends of mine, Andrea Waltz and her husband, Richard Fenton, wrote a great book, another parable, right? And it's called Go for No. And it's about a copying machine salesperson who realized that by reframing what no meant to him, he was actually able to embrace those no's. Again, doesn't mean you have to enjoy it, but embrace them in order to actually move his production way ahead.
Went forward. Yeah.
So
That's
and then
awesome.
so you had desire, which was the first bookend. Then you had number one, which was seek out and find the information. You had two, which was take action, right? You had three, be persistent or outlast the no's. Now, the last bookend, I think, is belief. And that's belief in what you're doing, belief in the value it brings to the world, belief in yourself.
Yeah.
That you have what it takes to make it happen and that you deserve to make it happen.
Right.
And sometimes that can be the most difficult thing of all, right? And that's why I think it's so important to read books on personal development and watch those great videos that people put out there and be around, have a coach like yourself who's going to say, yeah, I know you can do it. And here's why. It's so forth, because we need that. We all need people who believe in us, who encourage us. But the big thing, eventually we've got to believe in ourselves and know that we're capable of doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. And then a lot of people I talk to, it is that believing in yourself that makes the last ounce of difference versus, and then it's that belief that helps them pull the triggers, right? Or not pulling the trigger to that point. And so I'm curious to know, for a successful person like you, what is your daily habits that keeps you motivated and
Yeah.
keeps you
So,
kind of get up and
well, Elisa, I think the biggest thing is I love what I do.
yeah.
If I didn't love what I do, it would be hard to to get up and do the same thing. I mean, I think and people, and there's been a big movement of people saying, well, passion's not important, it's doing the work to get the thing. I know what they mean. Not everything
Yeah.
is unicorns and everything, but I really think that it is very helpful when you love what you do.
Right. Right.
Then you don't have to force the work. You want to do it.
Mhm.
Again, it doesn't mean everything about it's perfect and wonderful, but you love what you do,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
it's much easier to get up in the morning when that's the case. Now I'm an early riser. I get up at 4:30. I didn't
Wow.
always. I mean, throughout the years, I've kind of gone back and forth, usually between 5 o'clock and 5:30 as my times to get up. But over the last couple of years, I've just felt, 4:30 is a little easier for me because I get to get things done earlier in
Yeah.
the morning, and I kind of like that. And I go to bed early at night, so it's easier for me to do that. I make sure to get at least 7 hours sleep because that's important. The old thing, I'll sleep when I'm dead. That does
No.
not work out real
No,
well.
this
And
is
if
not.
you study it, Arianna Huffington had a great book about sleep, and I read another number of articles and really got to see. I think Ariana's book was The Sleep Revolution, if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
and it had great information. But sleep is important.
Yeah.
It's not a waste of time. It's what
Right.
recharges us and helps us to be good at what we do and clear thinking and so forth. But so I get up at 4:30. Now I do something that a lot of people say don't do. Okay, so it just goes to show we all have our own. I do check my email and social media first thing. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't do it while I'm in bed on my phone or anything. Okay, I don't do that.
Mm.
I hardly know how to
Yeah.
because I think I'm kind of a old school kind of guy, I guess. It's hard for me to do things on my iPhone, but I come downstairs. Not my office is in my home, right, and it has been for the last 15 years. So I love my
Yeah.
commute. It means I put on a pair of gym shorts and I walk downstairs. So I love that. And then
Yes.
I check my email because I have a lot of overnight correspondences, my emails, my social media, all the different things I have to write up. And I do that usually till about 6 o'clock when my trainer comes in. Her name is Diane. She's been doing this for about, I'd say 13, 14, 15 years now. She comes in every morning, actually 5 days a week. Used to be 6, now it's 5. She comes in the morning to work me out because
Yeah.
otherwise I just wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't do it
Yeah.
anymore. As
Yeah.
I get older, I'm kind of less disciplined in terms of that.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of create the environment for me
Yeah.
to have to do it. So I know she's coming in.
Right.
And
Yeah.
she works me out. She prepares my healthy meals for the day. So all I have to do is then shower up, get ready to start the day. And then it just goes back to doing whatever it is I have to do. I usually do a few interviews a day. I'm creating content. My business partner, Kathy Tage, and I have a team of certified Go-Giver speakers who license our material. We have an online mentorship community called the Go-Giver Success Alliance. We're continually building and promoting and so forth. So those are the things I do.
Yeah.
But again, it's the big thing is it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then can you kind of give our viewers a little bit into, and I talk about Go Givers a little bit more before we wrap up our interview here. Can you give us a little bit more, the 5 principles that you talked about the Go Giver? Obviously, I read the book, but for our viewers, listener, if you can kind of go into that a little bit more and how
Sure.
personally they kind of helped you with your business. I have my stories, but personally, how it kind of helped you with your business. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the 5 laws are the laws of value, compensation, influence, authenticity, and receptivity. The first law, which is all about value, is that focus on making that experience wonderful for your customer or client. But it really begins from the first time you meet a prospect. And it means that you're constantly displaying excellence, consistency, attention, empathy, appreciation. It means you're always looking to make it about that other person. Creating such a wonderful experience that by the time they do business with you or buy from you or whatever, they have received so much value that it totally outweighs the price that they have paid, while you make, of course, a very healthy profit.
Right.
Law number 2, the law of compensation, is all about the number of lives we touch, right? This says your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. So where law number one is the focus is on the value itself, law number two is on how many lives you impact with that value.
Yeah.
Law number three is the law of influence. This says your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. Now, this doesn't mean you're a doormat or a martyr or self-sacrificial. It simply means you understand that, again, all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. Well, here's the thing, Elisa. There's no faster, more powerful, or more effective way to elicit those feelings toward you and others than by genuinely moving from an I focus or me focus to an other focus. Looking to, as Sam, one of the mentors in the story, said, make your win all about the other person's win.
Yeah, I love that. The last one too. I want you to finish that, and then I want to kind of, for our listener and viewer, because we get asked about raising money all the time, and I want to beautifully kind of ties into how these laws actually help us do that. Yeah.
Sure. So law number four, the law of authenticity, says the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. And in this part of the story, Deborah Davenport taught that, all the skills in the world, the sales skills, technical skills, people skills, as important as they are, and they are indeed very important, they're also all for naught if you don't come at it from your true, authentic core.
Yeah.
But when you do, right? When you show up as yourself, day after day, week after week, month after month, people feel good about you. They feel comfortable with you. They feel safe with you. And that's where the magic in the relationship really happens. And then law number five is the law of receptivity. And this one says the key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. This really means that, yes, you breathe out, but you also have to breathe in. You breathe out carbon dioxide, you breathe in oxygen. You breathe out, which is giving. You breathe in, which is receiving. Giving and receiving, despite the horrible messages of lack we get from the world around us regarding prosperity, abundance, money, business, with terrible messages the world gives us about this. Despite all that, giving and receiving are not opposite concepts. Giving and receiving are simply two sides of the very same coin, and they work in tandem. Neither one is giving or receiving. Neither one is better morally than the other. They both have their place, like breathing out and breathing in. But here's what we know. The focus must be on the giving, giving of value. This is universal law. We plant before we harvest. We sow before we reap. We give before we receive. Money is simply an echo of value.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Thunder to values lightning. It means nothing more than when we focus on the giving, we create the benevolent context for success, and then we have to be able to willingly and gratefully receive the abundance that we've earned.
Absolutely. And then I think I want to just kind of tie it in, because we get a lot of questions on how do you raise money, right? How do you raise money? So the first law that you talked about over there is to kind of give value to people first. Just put it into, I can't put it in such elegant way as you do. But basically, in this process is we always try to give, like our email campaigns, the first thing that we get into, we give people 10 articles to read about. And this is not about us like setting them up doing anything. It's really simply as we have passively invested ourselves what that experience is and the challenges that we have faced before, and we want to find a solution for people. So then the second part is the laws of compensation.
Touching lives.
Touching lives is that we really try to understand when we do a call with our investors, when we do that, is we try to really put a focus on them. And then try to understand how exactly, what is the life problem they try to solve. Like, never mind about the investment. And what is the life problem that you try to solve? Why do you want to quit your job and become financially independent? And oftentimes being financially independent doesn't make people happy. And we try to dig out and to see what actually makes them happy and see there's a values that we can give to them. And then the law of influence. And that's kind of like how many people that you touch. So we have a database of 3,000 people combined. So obviously it gets added one at a time, every call, single call at a time. Is no magic. So after several
Love it.
years of talking to people and meeting people at a conference and etc., you start expanding that sphere of influence. And then the great thing over here is when we invest into real estate, we impact people through tenancy as well. So that's even more life that touched. So you kind of
Yeah,
created this a full
that's
wheel.
right.
Like that gets me really excited is to touch tenancies, and we'll probably be putting a library together and give your book to our tenants to learn some of these values, and then get them touched on understanding how do they get to higher places. So as we influence about 1 million tenants that's in our large Audacious Go, we help create 10,000 people reaching their financial independence from an
I
investment
love it.
perspective.
I love it.
And then
You
the law.
inspire me. You
Oh no, you
inspire me.
inspire me. That's all on the books, right? That's all your books. And the law of authenticity is being who we are. So
Yeah.
people know me and they will say, you don't beat around the bushes, you just tell what things they are. And that's who I am. And so I think, you like it or you don't like it. And I think you want to surround yourself with people who makes you happy. Right. So for us, it's we wanted the investors that has the same DNA as we are to invest with us. If they don't, then we don't care if they're not investing with us. And then the last one, sorry, my scribble is really terrible, is to
Receptivity.
receive.
Yeah.
So as we build this flying wheel really big, we also get paid. So, but that come naturally, and everybody's happy that we get paid. So
Yeah.
it's really a full circle.
hmm
And thanks, Bob, with the Go Giver book, this is kind of where you kind of look at all the system, kind of how that aligns. Great. Well, sorry, like I'm talking most of me here into
I
I'm a
love it. I
terrible
could listen to
interviewer.
you all day.
But
Yeah, again, you're a young entrepreneur who is really kind of just providing so much value to the lives of so many people, and you're reaping the rewards. And this is exactly how the free enterprise system is supposed to work.
yeah, amazing. So, Bob, how can people find out more? Obviously, you can order the Go Giver book and the Go Giver series book in Amazon anywhere you want to. And I
Yeah.
will highly recommend for all you folks to kind of read it. If you're our investors, you're listening to it, you will be getting a copy of the book as a Christmas gift, as we always give people for that. And Bob, I understand that you gave public speeches, you have podcast. How did people find out all these resources?
Yeah, I would just suggest going to burg.com and scroll down through the page and check out whatever resources look to be of interest to you.
Got it. And then you can always Google Go Giver as well. We're going to put a couple resources link underneath there, and then also what the link that Bob has given to us. And if you haven't read the book, I definitely highly recommend it. And Bob, like, it was so nice to meet you.
Thank you. The honor and pleasure is mine. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, we wrapped up another episode of 10,000 Roads to Financial Independence, and Go Giver.